All right, let's get into some supplementals. We'll probably do some different ones from like different programs just so that we can kind of see. But this one is 1,800 characters. This is right at 1,800 characters. So you can see that's kind of like just a paragraph or so, maybe 2 paragraphs. And I know Duke is a popular choice for PA schools. And I know this is like a live edit, and y'all have a lot of questions. So we'll try to get to some of those too. For supplements, a lot of questions are similar to what I wrote in my personal statement. Is it okay to just mention different aspects of my experiences? And should we always read back to healthcare or PA? Well, we'll get into some of that here. Again, you can always expand on things you've mentioned. So just don't repeat it, but you can definitely expand on things that you've mentioned a little bit. Okay, reflect on a significant life experience outside of your professional and academic achievements that has a profound impact on who you are today. So that sounds so familiar to the life experiences essay. Describe how it contributed to your personal growth and or influenced your approach to patient care. So this is where it gets tough because that is so similar. It is asking like more for one specific experience that's a little different, and you can cling on to that if you're having trouble with kind of figuring out how to answer. Okay, when I was 10, my mom abruptly moved us from my childhood home to a new house closer to my school. I later learned this move was instigated because the school district threatened to sue my mom, oh my gosh, for bringing me an out-of-district kid to their school. I love this like informal use of kid. Like I think that just adds some personality. My single mother uprooted her life and drowned in loans for a house she could not afford. Also, I could have the best education possible. I feel like as a parent, choosing education, that's something we're struggling with right now, like is the hardest decision that you ever do. So I feel like I relate to this, which is what you want to do. You want to make your reader relate to you. Her determination to create a successful life for us taught me grit and the importance of self-reliance from an early age. I owe much of my innate drive for success, steadfast compassion for others, and unwavering resilience in the face of adversities to the characteristics I saw my mother embody. When she began battling pain-related health issues later in life, I quickly recognized how variables like stress and psychological safety impacted her overall health and recovery. Having providers dismiss her pain as normal further cemented my mother's core belief that, like other areas of her life, she just needed to power through. Unfortunately, powering through led her to develop substance misuse behaviors. By the time she found providers to validate her concerns and guide her through various surgeries, many of these behaviors had solidified. These experiences ingrained the importance of listening and validating patient concerns. Patients trust their providers to respond to their concerns and not dismiss them without proper cause. I like how this person is talking about a negative interaction with medicine, but they're not calling anybody out or throwing anybody under the bus. And that happens sometimes. And it's hard because like as a professional, you don't want to do that. If you've like worked in a medical office, you may kind of understand those vibes. But this is just kind of a generalization. And so I like the way this is done. While my mom's story ingrained critical skills that have supported my success over the years, her story also motivates me to work towards becoming a responsive provider. I'm confident through Duke's program, I will gain clinical competency that complements my current skill set for supporting the exploration of patient concerns and advocating for their needs. Okay, so I also love that this person, this prompt does not mention Duke. It doesn't say anything about why you want to go to Duke or what Duke does or anything. But the thing we want to ask ourselves is, why is this school asking this in their supplemental? And this kind of gets into those schools' values, schools' missions. What do they care about? And so this person was able to pull out, this is something that Duke is going to offer me in my goals in patient care. So I think if you can go there, if you can talk about your goals as a PA, as a provider, as somebody in healthcare, your passion, like what is driving you, why you want to go somewhere, it just brings everything a little bit more full circle and gives you more of that well-rounded answer to, showing that this is a school-specific response and answer. Could this be a life experiences essay? Yeah, it also could. And you could always add more detail and go into more about healthcare providers and all of that. But I think this is very well written. I really enjoyed reading it. And that's the cool thing about supplementals. Like, honestly, I'd rather edit a supplemental than a personal statement because they're much more different. And the personal statements kind of get a little bit old after a time. But supplementals, they're all so different. And so they're actually very enjoyable to read. Let's go back to the prompt and just make sure everything is mentioned. So we have a significant life experience that's not part of professional or academic achievements. Okay. Had a profound impact on who they are today, sharing about this person's mom and how they've impacted them and how they've seen them. How has it contributed to your personal growth and or influenced your approach to patient care? So let's see. Personal growth. So definitely we have the influence your approach to patient care. One thing I think this person could have done is, or could do is include how they're already integrating that. Like if they have patient care experience, they can mention that and how they already try to, be good stewards, talk to the patients, whatever their role is, get good histories, involve them in decisions, whatever that looks like. So I think there could be a little bit more like a transition from this was my experience to this is what I'm doing now to this is what I want to do in the future. When questions asked and or would it be better to answer the and? I would go for the and if possible, yes. Oh, this is the question that everybody hates. Nobody likes this question at all. Many times applications leave a candidate feeling that important areas of concern have been passed by. Please use the space below for any additional statement you feel is indicated. This question is optional and intended only to give each candidate full opportunity for self-expression. So this question will also be phrased like, is there anything else you want us to know? Tell us something about yourself. And if you're like, I don't know what to put, I don't have anything else to tell them. And if you truly don't, then I guess you can leave it blank or say nothing. But I think of every opportunity that you have on your application as an opportunity to give them some type of information. So I would just think through, anything school specific, anything personal you want to add about that school, anything that you haven't been able to expand on that the supplementals didn't ask, that you just want them to know, anything that you're planning on continuing or doing for your application over the next year. That could be a good thing to put in there if you're working on experience or coursework that you want to talk about. But let's see what this person said. Through diverse professional experiences, I gained valuable perspectives, skills, and traits. I developed my empathetic care approach in mental health care. I reinforced my interest in community health and readied my ability to succeed in dynamic environments as an educator. In health tech, I practice implementing initiatives to support vulnerable populations. I'm confident my robust experiences will enhance my ability to provide culturally responsive, effective care as a practicing PA. Okay. So they gave like little overview of their experiences and their strengths. That works. I think that's fine. So yeah, I think that's adequate. But again, like this is your opportunity to share more personal stuff, share really just anything that you feel like is not on your application that you want them to know. So somebody asked, Abigail asked, what should I say if there's a required supplemental question that asks me to describe if I feel any grades do not reflect my mastery of course material, but I have a 4.0. That's amazing. Congratulations. That's incredibly impressive. I think you can if you want to and you don't feel that anything does not reflect your mastery of course material, you can say I through my hard work during undergrad, I successfully maintained a 4.0 and feel I've mastered the courses that I've attempted thus far. I don't know, something that's just like a statement to let them know, because they may not have seen that part, but they're probably not going to be worried about that. Or, if there is a subject that you struggled with, but you still came out with a good grade, maybe you want to talk about that. Just say, while I have a 4.0, chemistry was very difficult for me, and it's an area that I did well if you look at the numbers, but I don't necessarily feel that I have a full mastery of it, and you're not going to continue learning that in PA school. But, it taught me how to study, so I was able to achieve that grade. Like, it's fine. But if they're asking specific about grades, like, clearly you've mastered the course material. Let's get into some, like, specifics about, like, this one's talking about kind of the being ready for PA school. All right, can you see? Yeah. Describe your readiness to engage in our PA program. Please address strengths as well as any gaps, barriers, and or challenges that have impacted your learning experience. That's a lot for 1,000 characters. So basically, you ready for PA school? Like, what have you done? How have you proven yourself? Are you ready to take this on? In undergraduate and graduate school, that tells me something. I navigated the challenges of completing priorities alongside full rigorous course flows. Okay, so showing time management. In both experiences, I successfully maintained a competitive GPA despite these challenges. Feel free to brag on yourself. I love that. For example, at UCLA, I balanced multiple on and off campus jobs and upheld my leadership responsibilities across my extracurricular activities. So good, like using specific examples and stories, A+. At Johns Hopkins, I managed the demands of graduate school, full-time teaching, Teach for America responsibilities, and a part-time job. Okay, it's a lot. Good job. These academic experiences highlight my readiness to engage in the Duke Physician Assistant Program. School specific, I know how to prioritize my well-being to ensure sustainable success, leverage available resources when I need help, and structure my time effectively. Despite having a gap between my time in academia as a student, I am confident in my ability to be successful given my proven track record of success thus far. So reading that, do you feel confident that that person is ready for PA school? Because I do. Reading that, I'm like, oh, okay, like you've done a lot. Great job. I think you can take this on. I think, if you have had any issues, you could highlight those, but it's not necessarily asking for that. It's asking for showing your strengths. Mainly, I mean, it says gaps, barriers, or challenges, but we want to know how you overcame that and how you have prepared. You could also maybe bring in some school specific stuff. So let's say that a school has a specific teaching style. Maybe you want to say that you succeed in small group based learning based on your experience at whatever school. And that helps you know that you'll be able to succeed in the PA school because that's what they do. Or if it's like a smaller class or a bigger class, that those things, like you're choosing an environment that helps you succeed. Those are things that you could highlight as well. Someone said, building off Abigail's questions, some of those questions are optional. If they don't really apply, should we still answer them? No, I mean, if they 100% don't apply, then you don't have to answer them. But yeah, that was a good answer. Those are a couple ways that they could potentially expand. Okay, so I saw somebody ask about conflict and whether, like, if you're asked, tell me about a time you had a conflict, should that be personal, academic, healthcare, any of the above? So you get to use a lot of discretion and like your own interpretation with these questions. And that goes for your essays and for interviews. But not everything has to be medical or patient care related. It can totally be just something random or personal or academic. You can pull from different areas of your life, and you should, to show more of yourself and your application and all of that. I don't know the limit for this one, but describe a situation where you positively influenced or led others. For example, what was your role? What responsibilities did you assume? Did you encounter any obstacles? If so, how did you overcome them? All right. I supported medical groups in improving their value-based care performance for Medicare patients. That's very specific. This required care team members to use an external technology platform to track value-based care actions for patients. Adoption was initially low because staff were averse to, I think it should just be averse or adverse. I'll have to look that up. To change due to the perceived extra work with no benefit. Okay, so this was like the challenge or like the obstacle. So what was your role? We know what you were doing. What responsibilities did you have? Did you encounter any obstacles? How did you overcome them? I leveraged behavioral economics to design an incentive challenge across the 16 medical groups, where the highest group received an all expenses paid lunch from their system's leadership. Okay. In doing so, these groups were motivated to use the tool and improved quality gap closure rates by 19%. One group even caught a woman's breast cancer in its early stages. Wow. Okay. If you're lost, if you're not sure how to answer something, go back to the prompt. Like this follows the prompt directly. This is a situation where if you have the space to add kind of a summary statement, that can be helpful just to say that you feel confident leading others, that you feel like you've been in this role before and that you'll be able to do it in the future. Or if there is a connection to the school. So if you had a connection to George Washington University, if they put an emphasis on leadership or influence, you could incorporate that somewhere in here as well. Jackie asked, if different schools ask the same questions, do I have to change my responses each time? Not necessarily, but if it's anything at all school related, then yes, like you like don't even try to use the same one if it's very specifically school related. So these are the ones that are kind of annoying. So describe a service activity or activities you have provided to a community or organization. How has your involvement contributed to it? For example, how long were you involved with this group and why did you choose to get involved? This is the same as your experience details. It's the same thing. So the difference here is you could pick out a specific activity you did or expand more on one of those experiences you had in this type of supplemental. But you're going to see this. You're going to see ones come up that you think, I've already answered this. I've already done this. Why are you asking me to do it again? But that's going to happen over and over. Describe an interaction where you were involved or witnessed an act where an individual or group was being treated unfairly or discriminated against. What did you learn from the experience? So these are more of like your ethical type questions that you may see either in supplementals or interviews. Okay. A teacher brought up a student in admin meetings. I'm assuming like we have a little context of this person to teach from there. So I'm assuming this is that setting. I'm not for sure. Using phrases like bad behavior and disruptive. Research shows these words are commonly used against young Black boys. I noticed this student was frequently in the principal's office during his period with this teacher. He said his teacher disciplined him like this when he talked in class. When I inquired further, I learned he struggled with history and often asked his peers for help to keep up. I felt it was unfair this student was now missing more minutes of class time because their teacher mislabeled their collaborative choices as disruptive. I encouraged this teacher to adjust their perspective and support controlled collaboration. So it's very well written. Let's see if we've answered every part of the prompt. So describe an interaction that you were involved with, and we kind of know the context, where someone was being treated unfairly or discriminated against. What did you learn from the experience? So that's the one part that I'm not sure if was completely answered. Like one little summary sentence would have probably helped. Let me see. That's 697 characters though. So that's tough. Like that's not very much space. But I think a summary sentence of I learned that speaking up and being encouraging can have a big impact even on just one person in a workplace. And so maybe something along the lines of how what your takeaway was for the future and thinking about making that connection to how it's going to help you in a healthcare setting where you may see similar interactions or individuals or groups or either coworkers, patients, whoever being treated unfairly. So that would be really the only kind of thing I would try to add. So then we may have to summarize and try to cut some of this down into like a slightly shorter story. Let's see. When you receive constructive feedback, so that's kind of similar, like it could be academic, medical, whatever. Same thing with this. Describe how you respond to a stressful situation. So this is one that has like a lot of supplementals, but they're shorter. And so this is one that, again, interviews, supplementals, like you can use anything. So if I think of a stressful situation, that could be something with my kids. That could be like when one of my kids hit his head and we had to go to the ER. When, let's see, at work, when somebody called out and we had to step in and see their patients or they had to leave suddenly, that happens. If I'm trying to think in like school, when I forgot to sign up for my Gen Chem test and I had to take it a week early because all of the later spots were taken. It's how you interpret it, but the most important thing is what you learned from the situation. What did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about things to do in the future to not be as stressed out? What did you learn about stress management? And while you're going through these, think about how you can show different aspects of yourself, your character, your strengths, your application, your different experiences, like try to pull from different places and also take all of these practices into your interview prep as well. Okay, I feel like we've done similar ones. Okay, let's stop there. That was a lot. We'll be posting more of these live edits, going through and like true edits on YouTube. And hopefully that will be helpful for you guys. But thank y'all for being here. And hopefully I'll see y'all at the June one. I always hope these aren't like super overwhelming and we're actually helping. So thanks guys. Bye.